How often have you returned from a perfect holiday in Tuscany, the Provence, or further afield? Are you inspired to buy your new dream home abroad, but don't know where to start? Introducing Investing in Foreign Property, the ultimate guide to buying safely. Written by international property lawyer Stefano Lucatello, the book is filled with tips, experiences, and observations to help you buy your foreign property. Find out more by visiting property-tv.co.uk/library.
Hello and welcome back to part 2 of Property Question Time. I'm Stephen Galpin and with me are Stefano Lucatello,
Hello.
John Howard and Mark Harvey from Derbyshire. Now then, Stefano, your second question. I'm buying a new build property in Lallio, Italy. I'm being pushed by the developer and agent to use a local solicitor. However, friends of mine are strongly recommending that I use a firm of solicitors in central Milan, as they may be more efficient and probably more independent. Advice, please.
Well, if the gentleman is English, I would use a firm of lawyers specialised in international property who are based in the United Kingdom. Why? Because as solicitors, we are regulated by the Solicitors Regulation Authority, and we have £3 million worth, or £2 million if you trade as a limited company, of indemnity insurance, which you do not get if you go to a lawyer abroad. They have some minimal indemnity insurance, but they're not covered, as we would be. That's the first point. The second point is that you would be better off using a aforesaid type of law firm in England who has a specialism in Italy, because as a law firm doing that sort of work, they can literally translate the Italian into English and translate the Italian law into words and paragraphs that you can understand. Whereas if you have an Italian lawyer, however good they are speaking English, they don't always get it right translating, and the client doesn't always understand 100% of what's going on. The third point is that never ever go to an estate agent and then take on board, in my opinion, the lawyer that the estate agent recommends you. Why? Because it's too close. I'm not saying there's anything untoward, but it's too close for comfort. It's too close to call. You want someone that's not in the pocket of the estate agent.
Absolutely.
You want someone who is in your pocket and works for you and isn't working for a commission because you've been referred to them. You never know, and in Italy especially, it's quite often the case that there are substantially close relationships which are too close to call. And you might come away thinking, I'm not sure that I got the right advice or
what I would say is why take the risk? You don't need to take the risk. Don't take a risk if you don't need to. Use an English lawyer, speaks Italian, and get proper advice. It's got to be the answer.
Would that English lawyer be licensed to practice in Italy?
Right. I mean, what happens is that, well, no, yes, of course there would be practice, yes. I mean, most English law firms that practice in Italy have Italian lawyers in the team who are avvocati, in this case. They are qualified in Italy, and many of them now have done the qualified transfer test and become solicitors in the United Kingdom. So you find, as in our firm, that we have solicitors who are also foreign lawyers. So they're able to practice in their own jurisdiction that they come from, and also in England and Wales, and also in England and Wales as English solicitors. That's the best thing to do. You want to be looking at the website, first of all, of the law firm, whichever it is, England or in Italy, that you pick, and make sure that that law firm has the requisite advisors, qualified advisors. Ask questions. Yeah. Ask them questions. We always get asked questions. How long have you been doing it? What's your qualifications? Yeah. What's your specialism?
And there's nothing wrong with that.
You shouldn't. We as professionals quite often feel offended when someone questions our ability, questions our qualifications. You shouldn't be, because if you're qualified properly and you know your job properly, you shouldn't be offended.
No, absolutely right.
And we are recommended by the Law Society and the SRA. So, that's the best way to do it. Choose someone who has got a good track record.
Yep.
Okay, anything to add, John?
I think he says it all. Absolutely. Very good advice.
Okay.
I agree with him.
I've only been doing it 30 years.
Well, yeah, well.
So soon get the hang of it then.
Well, I'm still getting the hang of it,
yeah.
The English is a bit ropey.
Yes. We noticed.
Thanks, mate.
John, your question.
Yes.
Many developers sing the praises of the government's Help to Buy scheme.
They do.
However, the statistics would suggest that they've helped the developers' sales and profits, and the number of buyers truly helped is at best disappointing. Is it a mistake for the government to involve itself with commercially based incentives paid for by the taxpayer?
No, it's not. And I'll tell you why. There's more first-time buyers now than at any time since 1985. The government have put aside £10 billion to help first-time, not just first-time buyers, but first-time buyers, and predominantly 94%, I think, of people using the Help to Buy scheme are first-time buyers. And as from April, nobody who's not a first-time buyer will be allowed to use it.
Well, John, hold on, John.
I haven't finished yet, Stephen.
I know that, but let me just interrupt you there. Now, when you're giving these numbers about people using the Help to Buy scheme,
I haven't finished giving the numbers yet.
Essentially, this scheme was to help people at the lower end of the market, first-timers and people of limited incomes. The statistics are showing that the majority of people helped by this scheme are earning over £80,000 a year.
Okay, can I just say this? In London, that may well be the case. And just under 10,000 people have taken up the Help to Buy scheme in London since 2018. Huge amount of people. Huge amount of... where do you think the property market would be in London without those 10,000? So it's a great scheme. It has been abused, no doubt, by the odd clever person who could have done it anyway. It had substituted, I think, some money that was coming perhaps from the bank of mum and dad. And, mum and dad have been paying tax for the last 30, 40 years. Why shouldn't it? The government are obviously very, very keen, incredibly keen to get people on the housing ladder, because most people who buy a property tend to vote Tory. That's a fact, and I wouldn't disagree with what some of what you've said. But it doesn't mean it's a bad thing to do. It's a really good thing to do. And of course, if Labour get in, the first thing they're going to do is cut it. And they'll use that £10 billion to help for social housing instead.
But again, John, I've got a slight problem with these figures. It's very important that I think people understand the value of the figures. I mean, we've got statistics now coming out that the government are saying, right, yes, well, we've helped a lot of first-time buyers.
They have. The facts,
Mum and dads have helped a lot of first-time buyers, but they're talking about people now who are first-time buyers who are coming up to the age of 55, right?
Well,
so that catchment of first-time buyers...
Do you know what, Stephen?
Yeah.
This government, at times, have done some wonderful things. Got the lowest unemployment. We've got a great economy at the moment, better than most of the other countries, if not all the countries in Europe. And they totally get knocked for doing what is a really, really good scheme. And if they hadn't done that scheme, they'd be knocking them for not doing it.
John, how is it repaid?
It's repaid after 5 years. You start paying a small amount of interest if you don't repay it within 5 years.
I don't think that's clearly spelt out. The people
it's a wonderful scheme.
It's not. I don't think it. I think it's a wonderful scheme up to a certain point that it goes.
Yeah.
But it's not. It's not clearly defined what is repayable and when it's repayable and how it's repayable.
I think you're wrong there. I think it is. I think it is. And actually, when the average person moves every 6.5 years, so the chances are these are first-time buyers. They're going to move, hopefully move up the ladder. So the chances of them being able to pay it back without any interest at all are very high.
But coming back to the final part of the question, which is, do we think government should enter into these sort of incentive schemes to try and help people? We mustn't forget it's not government that does it, it's you and I, the taxpayer, who are paying for these subsidies or assistances. And I think then it does come into question, does the average taxpayer want to help somebody else get onto the property ladder? I don't know.
But they've got no choice.
Well, exactly.
Because government brings it in and says it's law.
Exactly, that's the point. And I think I tend to agree with the questioner here, saying, well, is it right that governments do this?
Well, governments subsidise and support a host of industries across the nation. Not just, under the European rules, they can't bail companies out unfortunately.
How long has it been going, this scheme?
The scheme's been going about 4 years.
So the first set of people due to repay some or all of their loans will come up in the next 12
Yeah,
months then?
they will do.
So it'll be interesting to see whether it becomes
2017, I
like
think, yeah.
university school fees, that people repay the interest back when they're still 65, as you mentioned
This
before.
week, next week,
Yes.
sometimes
You know,
over.
what you've got to remember, the government, everywhere you look, it's, if something is being subsidised by the government. You know, all this student accommodation is funded indirectly by the government because, you know, student fees are paid by the government. The government are doing so much.
This sounds very much like a Conservative political
It,
branch.
it isn't. And if listen, if Labour done a great scheme like this, I'd be supporting it just the same way. Yes,
I don't think.
I would.
All right, but there we are. I think that's all we have time for today. So I'm going to say big thank you to Stefano Lucatello.
Pleasure,
John.
Stephen.
I'm Stephen Galvin. Join us again next time on Property Question Time.